Sophia stepped into the cold, sterile office, her heart pounding in her chest. The air felt heavy, tense with unspoken expectations. Her family was seated around the polished table, faces polite but distant, eyes darting nervously toward the lawyer who held the thick folder in his hands. She had imagined this moment countless times, fair treatment, maybe even a reassuring smile from her father. Instead, reality hit like ice. The lawyer cleared his throat, scanning the room before speaking. "Everything goes to my son." Her brother's face split into a smug grin, the kind that said, "I knew this day would come. Finally, I have it all." Sophia felt the room holding its breath, waiting for a reaction. Some would shout, some would crumble. She didn't. She smiled, not because she was happy, not because she was proud, but because she knew something they didn't. Something quiet, patient, and unstoppable was about to unfold. When the lawyer said my brother's name, the room held its breath. I didn't argue. I didn't react. I smiled. Sophia Parker had always been the quiet force behind the scenes, intelligent, independent, and endlessly patient. Living in a bustling city miles away from her family, she had built a life on her own terms, a cozy apartment, a stable job, and financial independence. She prided herself on solving problems calmly, thinking carefully before acting, and never letting anyone see her frustration. But family dynamics had always been different. Growing up, Sophia had been overshadowed by her brother, the golden child, charming, charismatic, and effortlessly adored by everyone. He never lifted a finger, yet somehow received all the praise. Sophia had been the one picking up the pieces, helping with chores, smoothing over disagreements, and quietly making sure everyone looked good. Her own efforts were invisible, her achievements minimized, and her voice often unheard. She remembered holiday dinners where her suggestions were ignored, birthdays where her brother's whims took center stage, and family projects where she did all the work while he collected the accolades. Every subtle manipulation, every carefully veiled jab, had taught her to hide her emotions, stay composed, and wait for the right moment to act. Yet, Sophia never let resentment rule her. She had learned patience, observation, and strategy, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Her calm demeanor was not weakness. It was preparation. Even now, as the lawyer's words echoed in the cold office, Sophia's mind catalogued every detail of her family. Her brother's smug satisfaction, her parents' tentative glances, and the weight of expectation they'd always placed on her shoulders. She understood the patterns, the manipulations, and the subtle games that had dictated her life. I always thought family meant fairness, not deception. The room was thick with whispers and exchanged glances. Each family member aimed to measure the others, their unease barely hidden behind polite smiles and stiff postures. Sophia Parker sat silently, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her heartbeat steady despite the storm of anticipation in the lawyer's office. The lawyer cleared his throat and began presenting the documents. The envelope felt heavier than it should have, a tangible weight of expectations, secrets, and unspoken tensions. Sophia's eyes followed every movement, her mind scanning the room, noting subtle shifts in posture, fleeting expressions, and tiny gestures that revealed underlying power dynamics. Her brother leaned back, smirking, exuding effortless confidence, the kind of charm that had won him praise all his life. He whispered something to their mother and flashed a smug grin, certain the outcome would favor him. Their parents, on the other hand, seemed awkwardly frozen, careful not to reveal what they knew or perhaps what they feared. Sophie observed at all the micro-expressions, the subtle indications of guilt, entitlement, and expectation. She catalogued each detail silently, aware that this would be crucial later. The tension in the room was almost tactile. Every whispered comment, every rustle of paper amplified the suspense. Yet Sophia remained calm, her posture composed, her breathing even. The chaos around her, the anxious murmurs, the smirks, the silent calculations contrasted sharply with her stillness. It was as if she had stepped outside the storm entirely, watching its energy swirl without being swept up in it. The lawyer's pen hovered over the final document. Every eye in the room was fixed on Sophia now, some with curiosity, some with expectation. some with barely concealed dread. And in that moment, the audience could feel her quiet power, a calm intelligence ready to strike at the perfect moment, a mind unshaken even as the world around her quivered. I didn't flinch. I just watched. The lawyer's voice cut through the tense air, deliberate and measured, as he began reading the will. To my son, all properties, accounts, and assets are hereby granted. Each word landed like a stone in the quiet room, and Sophia Parker felt a flicker of disbelief ripple across her chest. Her eyes followed every nod, every subtle gesture from her parents. They maintained calm neutrality, almost rehearsed, as if they had predicted this outcome and had practiced their reactions. Her brother, seated confidently in his chair, leaned back with a smug grin, clearly savouring the moment. His eyes sparkled with anticipation, expecting Sophie's shock, her frustration, perhaps even a flinch. But she remained still, her posture impeccable, her expression neutral, a calm exterior masking the storm building inside. As the lawyer continued, Sophie's mind catalogued subtle signs she had missed over the years, the careful phrasing of certain clauses, the fleeting glances between her parents, the way her brother's grin seemed almost rehearsed, patterns she had sensed in family events, subtle manipulations and hidden agendas, suddenly came into sharp focus. She realized the outcome was not just unfair, it was a calculated play. A quiet, incredulous voice echoed inside her mind. Everything I thought I knew flipped in an instant. Her chest tightened slightly, but outwardly she showed nothing. The room seemed to pulse around her, the air thick with expectation. But Sophia Parker did not react. Her brother shifted, sensing a hesitation, hoping to catch a crack in her calm. The lawyer glanced at Sophia, perhaps expecting an emotional outburst. But she only smiled, a faint, controlled curve of her lips. It was not the smile of happiness, nor of agreement. It was the smile of someone who had already started processing the truth, someone who had seen the game and was quietly planning her next move. The room remained silent, the tension palpable. Every second stretched, drawing out the discomfort for her family, while Sophie's composed presence amplified the suspense. In that moment, she transformed disbelief into clarity, shock into strategy, and anger into silent power. Everything I thought I knew flipped in an instant. Sophia Parker remained seated, her hands folded neatly in her lap, outwardly calm, while the room buzzed with subtle jabs and veiled ridicule. Her brother, lounging casually on the edge of the leather chair, leaned toward her cousin and whispered loud enough for Sophia to hear, "Guess Sophia will just smile again." Like always, the words were soft, almost playful, but sharp enough to cut through the tension. A chuckle followed, and Sophia noticed her brother's smug satisfaction, as if her composure was some predictable weakness to exploit. Her parents, sitting across the room, exchanged polite glances before turning towards Sophia with thinly veiled commentary. "It takes a lot of patience to handle this calmly, Sophia," her mother said, voice syrupy, dripping with unintended condescension. Her father nodded in agreement, eyes briefly flicking to his son, reinforcing the idea that Sophie's restraint was a trait meant to be exploited, not admired. Even the younger cousins, sensing the tension and the patterns of hierarchy, couldn't help but add their small, teasing remarks. A toy was dropped deliberately near Sophie's foot. A whispered "she always does everything for everyone" floated through the room like a quiet taunt. Sophia's jaw tightened slightly, but her hands remained perfectly still. Inside, a storm raged, a mix of frustration, anger, and hurt. Every instinct screamed to snap, to yell, to prove them wrong. But she restrained herself, knowing that this was exactly the kind of predictable reaction her family expected. She could feel the power slipping away if she showed weakness, and she wasn't about to give them that satisfaction. Each comment, each smirk, each patronizing gesture only sharpened her awareness. She catalogued every subtle jab, every whisper, every expectation pinned upon her shoulders. For years, she had been overlooked, dismissed, and treated as secondary. But today was different. Today, she wasn't just enduring humiliation, she was observing, calculating, preparing. And yet, outwardly, she did exactly what they expected. She smiled. It was a controlled, polite smile, almost serene, but beneath it, something had irrevocably shifted. Her patience, long admired and often exploited, had reached its breaking point. Her mind churned with silent resolve. I smiled, but something inside me snapped. Sophia Parker sat perfectly still, her back straight, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Around her, the room buzzed with quiet tension. Her family assumed she was stunned, maybe even hurt, but she remained calm, almost serene. Inside, her mind was anything but quiet. Every glance, every twitch, every barely perceptible movement was being recorded, analysed. The lawyer, unaware, smirked subtly as he shuffled papers. Sophia noticed the flicker of superiority in his eyes, but also the tiny signs of impatience, tiny cracks she filed away. Her parents, trying to appear neutral, exchanged nervous glances whenever they thought she wasn't looking. Even her golden child brother, lounging confidently, occasionally adjusted his cuff as if signalling, "I'm untouchable." Little did he know. Every gesture, every smirk, only confirmed the opening Sophia needed. She catalogued the lies of past family gatherings, the times she was blamed for accidents she didn't cause, the moments she was overlooked while her brother received all the praise. She remembered subtle manipulations, the passive-aggressive praise, the helpful suggestions that masked control. Each memory strengthened her resolve. Sophia didn't argue. She didn't react. She let their assumptions feed their overconfidence. Their laughter bounced harmlessly off her calm exterior. Every joke, every expectation, was being stored mentally, mapped like a chessboard. She saw the patterns of control, entitlement, and deceit, and she already knew exactly how to counter them. Her silence was not submission. It was strategy. Her calm face hid the storm of calculation raging inside her. The longer she waited, the more they revealed themselves. The more confident they became, the weaker they truly. And in that quiet, imperceptible moment, Sophia Parker made a choice. She would not react to their manipulations, but she would respond, soon. And when she did, the power would shift entirely. Silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. Sophia Parker's eyes stayed steady on the lawyer as she leaned forward, her voice calm but deliberate. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Could you clarify this clause?" She tapped a specific line in the document, the one everyone assumed was standard legal phrasing. The room froze. The lawyer's pen hovered over the page, a flicker of unease crossing his usually confident expression. Sophia didn't raise her voice, didn't demand attention. She simply asked questions, precise, pointed, and impossible to ignore. As she spoke, the subtle inconsistencies became apparent. Certain clauses contradicted prior statements. Hidden instructions suggested intentions no one had spoken aloud. Her father's hand twitched, almost imperceptibly. Her mother's carefully neutral expression faltered, a shadow of guilt passing across her face. And her brother, the smug, confident golden child, stiffened in his chair, his grin slowly fading. Sophine's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the flustered, scrambling energy around her. She highlighted the discrepancies in a way that required no drama, no accusations. Every word she spoke shone a light on the truth that had been ignored, the family dynamics everyone preferred to keep buried. Silence followed each revelation, heavy and tense. The power in the room shifted subtly but unmistakably. No one laughed, no one sneered. Their assumed control over the situation was gone. Sophine's quiet authority dominated the space, her patience and sharp observation, now commanding respect in a room that had long dismissed her. Her smile remained soft, almost imperceptible, but it carried the weight of triumph. She didn't shout. She didn't raise her voice. And yet, the truth echoed louder than any outburst could have. I didn't need to shout. The truth spoke for itself. The room was heavy with silence. Sophia Parker's calm had done what years of confrontation never could. It had shaken the family to their core. Her brother, once smug and self-assured, slouched in his chair, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The confidence he had worn like armor cracked under the weight of revealed truth. Her parents exchanged uneasy glances. The careful neutral expressions they had, practiced so diligently, now betrayed their discomfort. Every subtle attempt at manipulation, every unspoken expectation, now lay bare in the quiet room. Sophia didn't gloat. She didn't rub their noses in it. Her authority came not from anger, but from composed, unwavering clarity. Sophia closed the folder and placed it neatly on the lawyer's desk. "I will respect this will," she said firmly, "but only within the boundaries of fairness and honesty." Her voice carried no hostility, only dignity and the weight of someone who knew her own worth. As the tension settled, the family began to realize that their old tactics, guilt-tripping, subtle mockery, and assumed compliance would no longer control her. Sophine's quiet assertion had done more than expose deceit. It had set a boundary that demanded respect. The audience feels her triumph, not as revenge, but as justice served through intelligence, patience, and calm observation. It's a payoff that resonates deeply. Sometimes the strongest action is the one measured, the one deliberate, the one that doesn't scream for attention but earns it naturally. True strength isn't yelling. It's calm, patient observation. Sophine's experience is a powerful reminder. Dignity, composure, and quiet strategy can reveal the truth and protect your peace better than confrontation ever could. What would you have done in Sophia's place?